You are here. That is enough. Whatever you carried into today, set it on the floor beside the bed. Whatever you carried into the last hour, set that down too. The room you are about to enter does not need any of it. There is a hallway inside you tonight. Long, cool, soft underfoot. At the far end of it, a great room. And lining the walls of that room, 50 doors. Behind each door, a different version of you. Some of them have already done what you are still trying to do. Some have already become who you are slowly becoming. Some are waiting for you, and have been waiting longer than you know. Tonight, you will meet one of them. Before you walk down the hallway, breathe in slowly. Out slowly. Again. In slowly. Out slowly. This practice asks you to believe nothing. Whoever you understand to be in this room with you. God. The saints. Your ancestors. Your higher self. Your future self. Your unconscious mind. The universe. The part of your brain that imagines. Or simply you, talking to yourself. They are welcome here. The mechanism is yours to choose. The practice is the same. You may close your eyes now if they are not already closed. You may set your screen face down if it is not already down. The room does not need light. The room does not need anyone watching. It only needs you. The hallway is real enough now to walk. Each step, unhurried. Each breath, a little slower than the last. The walls of the hallway are warm to the touch. The floor is soft. Dark stone, polished wood. You may choose, but it is not important. The ceiling is high, and arches softly upward. At the end of the hallway, the great room opens. You step inside. Around you, 50 doors. You do not need to count them. You do not need to find them all. On some nights, you will only see a few. On some nights, you will see them all at once. On some nights, only one will be lit. Tonight, one of them is calling. Let the pull come to you. Do not search for it. You are drawn to a door. This door is on the left side of the room, higher up than the others. The light beneath it is steady, warm, unhurried. You have walked past it many times in your life without seeing it. Tonight you see it. There is no symbol on the door. No name carved into it. No instructions. But you know. You know what this door is. This is the door of the self who does not need approval. You may feel something shift as you read those words. That is all right. You may feel relief. You may feel fear. You may feel the weight of how long you have been performing. You may feel the quiet terror of what might happen if you stopped. You may notice the face of someone who left when you stopped trying so hard to please them. You may notice the voice of someone who was only there because you were useful. You do not have to do anything with it. You only have to walk through this door. The self on the other side will do the rest. Behind this door is the version of you who learned a strange math. That your worth was not calculated by their approval. That the people worth keeping were not the ones who needed a performance. That there was a kind of love that did not require you to shrink. You may take your hand to the door now. The wood is warm. The handle turns. Step through. The room beyond the door is different from the first room. It is larger. Not grand, but lived in. There is more furniture here. A window, though you cannot see what is beyond it. There is light, but it is not coming from a candle alone. The light is coming from them. On the far side of the room, a figure sits at a table. And around them, on shelves, on the walls, on the table itself, are the small remnants of a life that did not ask permission. Books they wanted to read. A cup of tea that grew cold while they thought. Papers. A pen. An instrument they played for no one. The quiet evidence of a self that did not need to be applauded in order to exist. You sit down at the table across from them. Witness them first. That is the rule of every room in the council. Before words. Before questions. Before anything at all. Witness them. Notice how they are sitting. At ease, but not collapsed. There is no tension in them that is trying to please you. There is also no armor. No defensive posture. No wall that says, I do not care if you approve. They do not care if you approve. That is different. It is the difference between walls and boundaries. Notice their hands. They are resting on the table in front of them. One hand holds a pen. The other, a small stone, worn smooth. These are hands that have learned what to hold and what to let go of. These are hands that do not reach out only to be taken from. These are hands that give, and stop giving, and give again when they choose. Notice their eyes. They look at you, but they are not waiting for your reaction. They are not searching your face to see if they said the right thing. There is no calculation in their gaze. No negotiation. No invisible ledger where they are keeping score of how many times they showed up and were undervalued. Notice their posture. It is upright, but not rigid. You can sit with them without needing to fix anything. You can sit with them without needing to explain yourself. You can sit with them without needing to make yourself smaller so they feel safe. Notice that they seem quietly happy. Not in a way that demands to be celebrated, but in a way that does not require your permission to exist. Now you may breathe with them. In, slowly. Out, slowly. In, slowly. Out, slowly. The room is patient. You are not late. You did not arrive too early. You are here at the exact moment you were supposed to arrive. When you are ready, and only when you are ready, they will speak. I know why you are here. You are tired. You have been performing for so long that you do not remember what your face looks like when no one is watching. You have spent so much energy trying to be exactly what would make others comfortable that you have forgotten what it feels like to take up space just because you are here. Let me tell you what I learned. I spent decades trying to make myself smaller. I learned it early. I learned it from watching how much more comfortable everyone was when I did not ask for things. When I did not have opinions that contradicted theirs. When my needs came after everyone else's was settled. I was the version of myself that was always almost acceptable. I was never quite enough to be fully present. I was never quite too much to be asked to leave. I was the kind of person other people could keep around. This is not the same as being loved. I did not know that then. I thought if I could just be pleasant enough, just useful enough, just accommodating enough, then the people around me would choose me. They would choose me not because I was remarkable, but because I was manageable. And for a while, it worked. People liked me. Or at least, they kept me around. I was invited to things. I was needed for things. I was the person you could call when you needed someone to understand. Someone to listen. Someone to put their own needs aside. I was the person you could disappoint and they would not leave. But the body keeps the score. And my body was keeping a very detailed score. My shoulders lived somewhere up near my ears. All that effort to make myself palatable. My jaw was clenched so tightly that I ground my teeth at night. All that work to say the right thing. To not say the wrong thing. My stomach was in knots because I was always 3 steps ahead, calculating what would make the other person comfortable. My breath was shallow because I was always bracing. Ready to apologize. Ready to explain myself. Ready to shrink smaller if someone needed that from me. This is what approval seeking does to the body. It is a kind of constant contraction. A bracing against the moment someone will see that you are not quite enough. A readiness to extract yourself from space if your presence becomes burdensome. I collected so much resentment. Not because the people in my life were cruel. Some of them were. Most of them were not. They were just living their lives. And I was living my life in the margins around theirs. I resented them for not seeing how much I was doing. But they could not see it, because I was doing it invisibly. I resented them for taking and taking. But they had not asked me to give them everything. I had simply done it. And then I kept a meticulous list of what I was owed. I resented them for leaving when I stopped performing. But some of them had never actually wanted me. They had wanted the version of me that never asked for anything. There was a friend. I will not tell you their name. But you know who this is. You have your own version of this person. This was someone I loved. I showed up for them. I listened. I rearranged my life around their needs. When they were going through something, I was there. When they needed to complain, I listened. When they hurt, I held space for it. I did this for years. And then I stopped. Not because I had decided to, but because I was so exhausted that I simply did not have it in me anymore. I started keeping my own needs in the conversation. I started saying no. I started being too tired to rearrange my life. I became, In other words, an equal. I became someone with their own life. And they left. Not all at once. There was a slow drift. The calls got less frequent. The invitation stopped. When I reached out, they were too busy. And I realized something that broke my heart. They had not loved me. They had loved what I did for them. And I thought, this is the cost. This is what happens when you stop performing. The people who were only there because you were useful will leave. This is the loss you pay. But let me tell you what I know now. That person did me the greatest favor of my life. They left. And in their absence, I finally had the space to discover who I was when I was not trying to be someone else. That space was terrifying. It was like going into a room and finally turning on the lights and not recognizing anything. Who am I when I do not perform? What do I want when no one is watching? What are my opinions when they might contradict someone else's? What do I like when I am not considering whether someone else might not like it? It took me a long time to answer those questions. And the answers were small at first. I like coffee. Hot, no sugar. I like to read in bed without scheduling it like it is a task I have to accomplish. I like to spend Saturday morning doing nothing. I do not like board games. I am tired of pretending to like things I do not like just to make other people comfortable. These seem like small things. But they are not small things. They are the foundation of knowing yourself. I discovered other things too. I do not have the energy I thought I had. I have limited time and attention and energy. And that means I have to choose. I have to say yes to the things that matter to me. And I have to say no to everything else. I cannot do both. I discovered that I am okay. I am okay by myself. I do not need someone else's approval to be real. I discovered that the people worth keeping are the ones who like me not because I am useful, but because I am exactly who I am. There is a parent in this story. For some of you, maybe it is your parent. This was someone whose voice had become my inner voice. They told me I was too loud. So I learned to be quiet. They told me I was too much. So I learned to be less. They told me that the most valuable thing I could do was make them comfortable. So I spent decades trying to be unobtrusive. And then one day, I realized something. I was an adult. And I still lived my life as if I needed their permission to take up space. I still flinched when I heard a certain tone of voice. I still apologized for things that were not my fault. I still made decisions based on what they would think. And I thought, I cannot forgive them into being good parents. I cannot explain myself until they understand. I cannot perform well enough that they become proud of me. The only thing I can do is stop letting their voice be my inner voice. This took practice. It is not something that happens all at once. But it starts small. You say no without explaining yourself. And the world does not end. The other person gets angry, maybe. Or disappointed. But they do not have the power to erase you. You take up space. You occupy your own life. You exist not because you have earned the right through usefulness, but because you are here. There is a moment I want to tell you about. It was years into this practice of learning to not need approval. I was at a gathering. A family gathering. The kind where you are around people who have known you your whole life. Who have already decided who you are. And someone made a comment about me. A small, sharp thing. It would have destroyed me once. Once, I would have spent the rest of the evening trying to fix the impression they had of me. But this time, I noticed something. It did not land the way it used to. It did not create that immediate scramble to be better, to explain, to make myself smaller. I just thought, okay, they think that about me. And then I went back to my conversation. And the person giving the gift, it was they who spent the evening upset. Because I had not performed for them. I had not given them the satisfaction of knowing they had hurt me. This is when I understood. The approval you are chasing. It is not about being good enough. It is about giving the other person power. It is about saying, you get to decide if I am okay. And when you stop chasing approval, when you decide that you are okay whether or not they think so, something happens. You become uncontrollable. Not in a way that is selfish or cruel, but in a way that means they cannot hurt you by withholding what you need. Let me say something about the body. When you stop performing, your body knows it first. Your shoulders drop. Not a little bit. Several inches. You did not realize how much effort it took to hold them up. Your breathing becomes deeper. You did not notice it was shallow until you felt it change. Your face relaxes. The muscles you use to keep yourself pleasant start to rest. Your stomach loosens. That knot of anxiety, the constant readiness to shrink, it begins to soften. Your hand stops shaking. When you are not, and something else happens. You become more generous. When you are not performing, you actually have energy left over for other people. You can give because you want to, not because you are afraid of what will happen if you do not. You can listen because you are interested, not because you are calculating what this will earn you. There is another kind of love that opens up. Real love. Not the love that requires you to perform. But the love that says, I like you like this. I like you when you are tired. I like you when you disagree with me. I like you when you need something from me. I like you without the performance. Some of you are still worried. You think, but if I stop trying so hard, will people still like me? And the answer is, probably not. The people who only like the version of you that performs, they will probably leave. But let me tell you who stays. The ones who actually love you. The ones who were watching you perform and thinking, I wish they would relax. The ones who saw how tired you were and felt sad. The ones who liked you anyway, even when you were not trying so hard. You may not have been able to see them while you were performing, because you were too busy watching for the people who did not like you. But they were there. And when you finally stop performing, you get to actually spend time with them. You get to let them see you. You get to let them love the real version. There is another gift that comes. The kindness of being underestimated. When you stop trying to prove yourself, people stop having such high expectations. You are allowed to just exist. You are allowed to be ordinary. You are allowed to have bad days and not turn them into evidence that you are failing. This is freedom. Real freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want without consequences, but the freedom to be human, to have limitations, to need things, to rest without explaining why. Let me tell you something about saying no. The first time you say no without explaining yourself, something will happen. The other person may not like it. They may pressure you. They may get angry. They may try to make you feel guilty. And you will feel all of that. But what you will not do is back down. And then something magical happens. Nothing bad happens. The world does not end. You do not cease to exist because you said no. The other person will either accept it, or they will keep pushing. But they will not have the power you thought they had. The second time you say no, it is easier. By the 10th time, you realize you have been doing it all along. You have been saying no in small ways for years. You just had to say it out loud. I want to say something about the people who leave when you stop performing. This is not a tragedy. This is information. This tells you that they did not love you. They loved the usefulness of you. They loved what they got when you pretended to be someone you are not. And that is sad. That is a loss. But it is not your loss. It is theirs. Because they are now alone, looking for the next person who will shrink themselves to make them comfortable. And you are finally free to meet people who do not need that. There is a practice I want to teach you. And you can start it tonight. Find one small thing where you have been seeking approval. One place where you have been performing. One interaction where you have been making yourself smaller. It does not have to be big. It does not have to be dramatic. It can be something very small. A comment you usually apologize for. An opinion you usually hide. A need you usually minimize. Start there. Start with the small thing. And when you have the opportunity, do it differently. Say the opinion. Take the need seriously. Do not apologize for the comment. Watch what happens. Usually, nothing happens. The person does not care as much as you think they do. Their opinion of you does not change. The world keeps spinning. But you will know something new. You will know that you can do this. You can take up a little more space. And the sky does not fall down. Gradually, you can do it with bigger things. Not all at once. Not everything at once. But slowly, you will find yourself back in your own life. And it will feel strange at first. Because you have spent so long not being here. You have spent so long being somewhere else, watching from the margins, trying to guess what would keep people comfortable. Coming back to your own life feels like waking up. It feels like noticing colors you had stopped seeing. It feels like your own breath in your own body. Let me say something about the people who are disappointed that you stopped performing. Some of them will let you know. They will say things like, "You have changed. You are not as nice as you used to be. You used to care more." What they mean is, you used to prioritize me. You used to make yourself uncomfortable to make me comfortable. You used to perform. And now you do not. And you get to decide what you do with that information. You get to decide if they are worth the exhaustion. You get to decide if the relationship works when you are not performing. Sometimes the answer is yes. You can have a real relationship with someone. One that does not require a performance. But sometimes the answer is no. And that is allowed. I want to say something about being alone. One of the biggest fears about not performing is that you will be alone. That people will leave. That you will have no one. And some people will leave. But some of that loneliness you are afraid of is loneliness you already have. You are already alone. You are alone in your performance. You are alone because the people around you do not know the real version of you. They know the version you let them see. When you stop performing, some people leave. But the ones who stay know you. The real you. And that is a different kind of company. That is not aloneness. That is finally being seen. There is a grief that comes with this. Grieve the people who leave. Grieve the version of yourself that performed so hard. Grieve the energy you spent. Grieve the things you could have done if you had not been so busy trying to be acceptable. Let yourself feel that grief. It is real. It matters. But do not let that grief convince you to go back to performing. Do not let it convince you that you should try harder to be palatable. There is a life on the other side of that. And it is a better life than you can imagine right now. Let me speak to a part of you. The part that is terrified. The part that learned early that you had to earn your place. That people would only keep you around if you were useful. That love was conditional on performance. I am here. And I am still here. I did not disappear when I stopped performing. I became more real, not less. I became stronger, not weaker. I became happier, not sadder. The people who loved the real version of me. They are still here. And there are more of them than there were. Because I have energy now to actually meet people. To actually be in relationships. To actually give when I choose to, not when I am afraid not to. You are allowed to come home now. You are allowed to rest in your own life. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to exist, exactly as you are, without earning it. Before you leave the room tonight, there is one small thing. You may stand, slowly. Or you may stay seated. The self across from you stands as well. Or doesn't. Mirroring you. You face one another. They place a hand, gently, on the place where you have been carrying the exhaustion. For some of you, that is the chest. For some, the shoulders. For some, the belly. For some, the back of the neck. Wherever you have been holding the tension of performance. Wherever you have been bracing yourself, they place a hand there. It is warm. It does not press. It does not extract. It simply rests. Then they say, very quietly, "You can stop now. The performance is over." The hand remains for one more breath. Then it lifts away. And in its place, a warmth spreads through you. A warmth like permission. A warmth like finally being allowed to rest. You may step back from them now. You may turn slowly. The door behind you is open. Walk through. Do not look back at the room. The room will be there tomorrow. The self will be there tomorrow. For tonight, you have done enough. The hallway opens around you. It is darker now than when you came in. That is correct. The hallway is making room for sleep. You may walk a few steps and then stop walking. You may simply stand in the hallway. Or you may continue, and the hallway will gently dissolve around you. There is no wrong way to leave a council room. Wherever you find yourself now, bed, chair, floor, the soft place between waking and sleeping, stay there. The work is done. Tomorrow you may notice that something is lighter. You may not name it. You may not connect it to tonight. That is all right. The self in the room is not seeking credit. Sleep is welcome here. You are seen. You are enough. You are free of their gaze. You are home in yourself. You are loved without performance.